This is my review of the Atomic Solar Gulfman Gshock watch. I've had this watch for about a year, and I have to say I rather like it. It's part of the Masters of series by Gshock. In this particular case, it's the Gulfman, which is indicated by the depiction of the turtle with the satellite dish on the back here. What it means is the backing, the screws, and the bezel here are all made of titanium, which is rust resistant, so it's a good watch to have if you're anywhere around the water. The only bad thing that I've noticed so far is there is a little wear on the band here. I mean, this is like my everyday watch, so it's taken some abuse, but it's holding up very well. Alright, to start, it's an atomic solar watch, so what it is, there's little solar panels here and here, the bottom, which charge a storage battery. It is a CTL1616, and what that does is it takes this solar energy and puts it in the battery, so it doesn't need batteries as often. I haven't had to charge, or I haven't had to replace the battery, excuse me, in this watch yet. The battery indicator here, there is a H, M, and an L, which indicate the level of power left in the storage battery. I haven't had this move off of H yet, and I've pretty much just worn the watch like a watch. You know, I haven't had to do anything special to keep it from losing a charge. It does say that the watch will continue to function for about 9 months without exposure to light. Okay, so the main reason you're thinking about an atomic solar watch, obviously the solar portion, you know, batteries, stuff like that, you don't want to pay for them. The next part would be the atomic portion, where it keeps time on its own. Don't have to reset it every couple of weeks or months because you lost time here and again. Okay, so what we do is this button over here shows you that it got the last time signal at 12:04 this morning. Now what they say is that it gets this time signal up to 5 times per day. Now what that actually really means is, starting at 12 o'clock in the morning, it will attempt to acquire a signal from its nearest time tower. I actually assume that, hey, it's going to go throughout the day and try and pick up a signal somewhere. It doesn't quite do that. It waits until nighttime when traffic in the radio frequency that it's looking is less. You can, however, manually attempt to get a signal by pushing and holding the button down. It has hourly chime and button chimes, but I turn them off because I don't particularly care for them. You can see here it is a 5-band atomic watch indicator. Here it's indicating the United States time tower. The other bands are UK and Germany, and there are 2 indicators for Japan. Another thing I kind of like, you got this up here, displays the date instead of the day. With other watches, you just kind of have like a little indicator as to what day it is, which you can actually do if you push the button here. It will show you today is Sunday in this case, but I like to know what the day of the month is because I tend to know what day of the week it is. Alright, well, we'll go through some of the features here by hitting our button here. This is your region select area. As you can see, I have selected NYC because that's the closest time to where I actually live. You can cycle through a whole bunch of them by hitting this button here. Moving on. Obviously your basic stopwatch, with one exception. I haven't seen this on any other watches, but then again, I don't really have a lot of high-end watches. Push the button here and then designate to start, and you can kind of time yourself to go instead of having to push and hold, you know, 1, 2, 3, go, and then assume. Just wait for the beep and you can start. Moving on, there is a timer. The timer can run between an hour and 1 minute countdown time. So what you do is you hit this button here, it starts counting down, and when it reaches the end, it will do a beeping indicating that it's reached the end of its time cycle. You may ask yourself, well, what's this good for? I mean, what do I need a countdown timer for? If you notice, I have the countdown timer set for 15 minutes. So that tells me on my 15-minute coffee break, I just go out of the office, punch that button, and know by the time it's ringing, I should be back at my desk. Another feature that you might not have noticed is, see how the time is displayed up here? Most of the other times you're cycling through functions, alarm, watch, you'll see, it turns back to the time. So if you're playing within a function, you could still see what time it is. It's a nifty little feature. This watch has 5 actual times that you can set for alarms. Now, with the times, all of them will pretty much go off and the alarm will sound for about 9 seconds. I don't think it's really long enough in my opinion. I wish it would go a little longer, but what are you going to do? However, there is one exception. The 1 indicator alarm slot, 7:05, this is wake up time. It has what's called a snooze. Anytime you turn it off, if you don't actually turn it off all the way, it will continue to go off every 5 minutes. I've had it go off to about 20 minutes, and then after that I just got annoyed and decided to stop testing to see how long it would go. So here we got alarm 2, that's if I leave for lunch early. Haven't used that one. And back to my normal one. And here we go, back to the date and time. It does have, like most digital watches, a light here, which in my opinion isn't quite as long as it should be. It does it for about a second and a half, and you can't really tell in this light, but yeah, I'll have to do it in the dark. It has a weird viewing angle, which makes it kind of annoying that the light is so quick. By the time your eyes adjust and you get to the viewing angle that you want, it normally shuts off, so you got to press it again. To give you a general idea of how quick the light on the Gulfman turns off compared to another watch. It does have what's known as a auto light. What it is you hold down the light button for about 5 to 6 seconds. If the auto tone is on, you should hear a tone. And what it does is, anytime you put the watch to a 45-degree angle, about what you're looking at on your wrist, it will automatically turn the light on for you. If you're worried about power consumption, don't worry. There's a sensor there that tells it if it's above this kind of like ambient light around, don't turn it on, so you don't have to worry about wasting the power. But speaking of power saving functions, it has what's known as power saving mode. What it says is, after, I believe it's 10 o'clock at night, if the face isn't exposed to any light, it turns off all of the, the time, the date. Pretty much what it is, think of it as a snooze mode in a computer. The functions are still working, you just can't see them, so it helps save power. Now, for those of you who are worried about, the specs that you find online, you're like, hey, I can't really understand the measurements that they're giving me, they're just trying to be all fancy like. I'll break it down for you nice and easy. The diameter of the watch is just about 1.5 inches across, and the width is just about 1/2 inch. Now, it's a chunkier watch. It is a little heavier than your average watch, but like I said, I've had it for a year. I haven't really noticed it that much. It's light. Okay, for those of you who are still wondering about the size of the watch on your wrist, if you have a smaller wrist like I do, so it's rather girl-like. To give you a better idea of how the watch actually looks on a human, just in case you were wondering. Also, a few things I forgot to mention earlier. It's got a calendar that's pre-programmed to 2099, so you don't have to worry about messing with it. And one of the downfalls that I also forgot to mention was the face here. Since it is made of glass, it does pick up fingerprints and dust rather easily, but if you can live with that, I mean, don't worry about it. Even though I'm showing you what the measurements are, you still might not be sure how this is going to look on you. Now, if you're looking for something to compare to, the closest thing I could think of is currency. This is a US silver dollar, older version of a US silver dollar, I should say, just give you an idea of what the face size is. Kind of a comparison there. This would be a US half dollar. This is a Jamaican 50-cent piece, for those of you who might be inclined to that region. Mexican $10 peso, I think. Trying not to waste too much time actually looking at them, just kind of glancing as I go here. A euro, Hong Kong $1 piece, Canadian $2 piece, and a franc. Now, that's all the foreign currency I have, so hopefully wherever you are, that helps you get an idea of what the size of the face here is. I would highly recommend it, and yeah, that's it.